Okay, let's move on from that story now and go to another telecom story. We were talking about the rates coming down, and that's very good for the consumer. But let's talk about the Wireless Access Providers Association, or WAPA. And it's going back to that Neotel deal. And when you say Neotel, you think of Neanderthal when it comes to me and the understanding of what's going on here. But the buyout of Tata-led South African telecom company Neotel by Vodacom, if it goes through, it says here, will lead to job cuts and do little to reduce the digital divide. And that's according to Christopher Geertz, who is the chairperson of WAPA. He's in the studio with me in Cape Town now. Christopher, make it very basic for me. Why do you object to this?
We don't think it's good for the industry at all. We think it's going to lead to less competition and not more competition. So if you look at our industry, we have 160 operators who are all fully fledged members. We're growing very fast. We've had in 7 years a growth to 160 plus, and it's about 25% a year now, you know, every year on year. And we very importantly offer strong competition. So we offer better pricing, competitive service levels, response levels, product innovation, quality of service. We offer all those as an industry, and because there's such a pent-up demand for that, we're growing.
But you can't say that the Neotel Vodacom deal is going to wipe all that out immediately and they're going to become a gigantic monopolistic bully, are you?
Unfortunately, well, let me just say we have a very good relationship with Neotel, and we've actually built up a mutually beneficial set of projects that are of benefit to both groups. And the reason is because Neotel has a very good fibre network across the country and access even into some of the semi-rural areas. And our members are in both urban and rural, but we do have the ability to deliver in rural areas. So when they have a requirement for customers to be connected in rural, we can do that. In return, they give us very good, neutral, open, and fair wholesale pricing and services. And we don't see Vodacom as having the same character as Neotel. In fact, many of us have had individual or collective organizational meetings with Vodacom over the years about wholesale prices. And I've got to say that being in the telecoms industry, we're not excited about the prospect of that character coming into the Neotel relationship that we enjoy. We think it's really going to stifle competition.
The reality of the situation is, by all accounts, the deal is probably going to go through, not having any impact or not being barred by the Competition Commission. Those are early indications. Where does that leave you?
Well, first of all, we think it's going to take quite a while. I mean, they're still at exploratory phases, and there haven't been any of the final due diligence or stuff. We haven't got the details of the deal yet. But let's say that there is an offer and it is accepted and then it goes to the bodies. There's still quite a long process. I would say 2 to 3 years before everybody finalizes all of that process. And I would say on our side, we've got quite a few allies who also are opposed to the deal. I would say, for example, if you look at the government, their economic objectives are not going to be met by cutting jobs, by reducing competition in the market, by reducing innovation. In fact, very, very much the opposite. And our members, for example, who are small and medium businesses, represent job growth. This is going to be a job-cutting exercise.
David, you want to take it there?
I would say that the unions, for example, would also join us in fighting that. And then there are a number of big players who have vested interests who would also be opposed to the deal.
Christopher,
so we're quite confident that it will. Yes,
sorry, if we look at Neotel, we haven't seen their accounts.
Yeah.
We're not quite sure whether they're profitable, but our understanding is that they're under quite a bit of pressure, very heavily indebted. And that might be one of the reasons that you were able to get the kind of deals that you did get, because of their wholesale pricing, their ability or wanting to get additional market share. Do you think that you'll be able to, do you think this is perhaps one of the reasons that you were able to get good deals was simply because of where they were in the market and this wouldn't have lasted?
Look, I can't comment in detail, but from what I know of Neotel, and I do work with a number of individuals quite closely, they've broken even now. They're on the up. Their growth is quite phenomenal month on month. So they're definitely in the right direction. And to me, giving good service and open and neutral access is not only about pricing, it's about a lot more. It's about the attitude of the organization and the way that they deal with partners. And we found that it's actually a very constructive one. And in fact, a lot of it has been informed by the way Tata works with the similar organizations in India. So we think it's actually a very futuristic, forward-thinking type of relationship, and one which should be encouraged in the country because it will lead to better service levels and innovation for everybody.
You know, just to take this argument a little further.
Lindsay, David's got a follow-up question.
Just stay there for a second. Do you
I
want to
think
go,
just
David?
to take this further and to illustrate the point, with the cutting of interconnect fees and with the cutting of termination fees with MTN and Vodacom, I have no doubt that there are going to be a lot of organizations that suffer where they'd also been given very favorable deals along the way. I think of something like Blue Label. Do you not think that this, as fees go down, more and more of the big operators are going to come under pressure, and it's going to put members of your organization under pressure as well?
That's quite funny because we've looked at that in the last few years and the prices have come down, and we did expect to come under pressure, but we haven't. I mean, the real point is, are these organizations efficient or not, the larger organizations, compared to, say, our smaller members and medium-sized members and their efficiencies? And what we find is there are a lot of inefficiencies in the market which people get away with, often because of their size and their market power. But underlying it, if there is true market efficiency, one doesn't have to worry. And we believe that our members, if given a free, open, and neutral access to the market, will thrive, even if prices come down quite considerably. And in fact, we welcome the prices coming down. And if you look at the mechanics, or let me say the economics of broadband, when there's high growth in broadband uptake, it benefits everyone. If you look at other countries who are using far greater volumes of broadband data and are doing it at lower prices, they are thriving industries. There's nothing to say that high prices, for example, are required. In fact, it's wrong thinking, and partly what we're trying to move beyond and take South Africa to the new level of a lower price, lower margin type of thinking, where you gain your footprint through innovation, service levels, quality, etc., not just basic running a high margin on low volumes of data. What's actually happened in other countries, and they've done studies in 27 countries, is when they compare data usage. So let's say you take a smartphone and the person is connected to 3G or LTE.
Christopher, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. We don't have any more time. Thank you so much. That was Christopher Geertz. He's the chairman of WAPA,